House Baratheon, the Royal Lochnagar 12 year. That's going to take a little while to go away. Welcome to KillCo Whiskey Musings. My name is Brian. If you happen to have this whiskey, I hope you will join me in this tasting experience. If not, please pour one of your favorite whiskeys, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Please be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell. And all I have to say is, winter is coming. With winter being on the way and me just casually having 4 of these Game of Thrones bottles that I haven't opened yet, it seemed like a good idea that I should do the videos on them now. These bottles were donated by the amazing, the legendary Cliff Smith. Thank you, Cliff, for donating all 4 of these frickin' bottles. All 4. So stay tuned for the rest of those coming this month. And on a side note, when this video comes out, day of, I will be on my way to Kentucky. So that feels a bit strange. Going to Kentucky to do a Scotch video. Why not? Oh. Shout out to Roy. Woo! So I'm one of those people who didn't actually watch the series. I watched the first season, so I didn't get to be disappointed by the ending. Spoilers if you didn't see it. I've heard things. Oh yeah. But I did read the books. So I'm one of those. And I've been waiting for that series to be done for a very long time. Well, George R. R. Martin just loves to keep the suspense by not finishing the books for 15, 20 years. I have no idea even how long it's been. Let us begin with the color. This is actually pretty light. Again, 12-year Scotch. It's always lovely to see the kind of contrast between Scotches and bourbons. And Scotches always seem to linger in this area, similar to where Irishes often linger. Color, this is pale straw at best. Clarity, clear as day. Sediment, snow, and viscosity, well, has no deteriorated. It's only at 40%. You'll note my whiskey area in the back. There's a little tilty. Someday I'll have the fancy wooden things, I swear. For the moment, I have to hope the bottle kind of looks like it's standing straight up. This is a Highlands single malt Scotch. I tend to prefer Highlands and Campbelltowns and all the lighter, fruitier stuff. I do enjoy an Islay from time to time, but if I want to just pour myself a Scotch, this is what I'm going for. These legs are pretty good, actually. They're all drippy and runny. Oh my goodness, look at that. Beautiful. It's like watching rain on a window. Except alcohol. A strange thought. The skies are raining whiskey. Oh, the water of life, indeed. Of course, everything would die if alcohol was falling. Anyways, moving on. Don't need to fall down any rabbit holes tonight. Be a nosing technique. Oh, gosh. Oh, it smells good. So I'm talking about, it has these fruit notes that I adore. Got peaches and pears and cream. Oh. It's got a little vanilla in there. There is a grain note. It is a single malt. But it's not overpowering. There's no funk, which I have seen on occasion in many, many Scotches I've had. It's not in this one, though, thankfully. Yeah, this is sweet, inviting, glorious 12-year Scotch. I've never had this kind before. I've never had this brand. And there it is in all its glory. The Royal Lochnagar Highland single malt Scotch whiskey, aged 12 years. This is one of the few that actually had an age statement on the Game of Thrones Scotch selection, I believe. After glancing at my collection there, the only one I've done so far that did have an age statement on it was the Lagavulin 9-year. I could go on with this for a while. It's very light. It's a little floral as well, like the honeysuckle thing is going on. But this is why people fall in love with Scotch, for my personal taste. The funny part, since I don't do Scotches very often, I'm typically grabbing bourbons. When I get a new Scotch, and I'm smelling it, and I'm going, what the heck is this reminding me of? And I can't figure it out. It immediately makes me think I clearly need to do a flight of unpeated Scotches. Hell, I'm definitely going to do a comparison of all of them when I have them open. Because why not? Completely different things, but why not? I have them all. I should. I can. I will. On to phase 2 of our nosing experience. The intensity on this is, I don't want to say delicate. I'll say 2. Age, since this is a Scotch, I will say moderate. I'm trying to think what the mature would be for Scotch. I am attempting to keep the categorization similar for Scotch and bourbons, but moderate would be 10 years for a bourbon, and then even then, it would not take many more years for me to think of it as mature. This is a Scotch, so I'm going to assume the barrel was used oak. Grain is malted barley, since this is a single malt, and it is glorious. Smoke, not a trace. Spice, there might be a little bit of clove in here. Just a touch. Possibly a little bit of black pepper. As far as spices, that's all I'm seeming to find. Sweet, it smells so sweet. Vanilla, cereal, honey, floral, I will say honeysuckle. Again, I have to admit, my floral nosing memory banks are thin. I can barely remember what a rose smells like. But I'm told it smells sweet. Wine, I don't believe they used any wine in this. Fruit, I'm leaning towards, it's either pear or peach. Or apricot. I like the apricot idea. With just a slight hint of lemon? I mean, the fruit notes on this are glorious. I'm very surprised so far at how lovely this smells. I'm worried the taste isn't going to hold up. But it is a 12-year Scotch, so it's got that going for it. Sulfur? Absolutely not. Peat? No. Earth, I could see a slight hay note. Maybe even a black tea note. Very faint. Again, this is not a blow your nose off kind of Scotch. I must say I'm just enjoying this part a lot. Time for the palate. Oh. Delish. As usual, it's very important to just enjoy the first sip, or at least I feel so, when doing a tasting. But now we're moving on to holding it on our palate briefly and analyzing it just a smidge. It's still just, you gotta enjoy it. It's drier than I anticipated. The fruit notes are tamped down. The vanilla is there. There's a little bit peppery spice. A little tongue tingles, a little bit. The texture is really good. It's a bit buttery, I would say. It feels about right. The way it just kind of dissipates slowly and then sticks around somehow. It is pleasant. Again, it's a little drier than I expected and brings out the little tannin notes slightly. And for someone like me who's looking to explore a Scotch, I would say this is more for a beginner, although it is enjoyable. There's not a lot to it. On the palate, the nose is much more intriguing than the palate is thus far, but let's get into phase 2 of our tasting. The flavor itself, I would say, is sweet, although it does have a drying effect, which is mildly confusing when you're trying to say specifically what the flavor is, but we'll go with sweet. Proof is as low as you can get. For the body, I will say 2. The texture, I feel, is that weird one that I keep coming across over and over again, where it's tea with milk sort of texture. Balance, does any element dominate? Other than a little bit of sweetness and spice, I would have to say the thing that dominates the most is the way it dries out my tongue. That sticks around and kind of makes for a little bit of a longer finish. Speaking of finish, I will be giving this one a 3, and the complexity is 2. I don't want to say low, because that would be just, fizzle, nothing's happening. This does have a little bit to it, and I feel this would be an excellent beginner Scotch, so I'm going to be keeping that in mind. It always is nice to bring out a bottle that looks real fancy and impress people somewhat with a interesting bottle that you can't really get anymore. They're probably out there, but I haven't seen them on the shelves anymore. Before we begin our final tasting notes, I want to read the back of this because it's always a little interesting to read the Game of Thrones stuff they have plastered on here. After leading the rebellion against the Targaryen dynasty, Robert Baratheon took his seat upon the Iron Throne to rule over the 7 kingdoms. The Baratheon stag flew on banners above the Stormlands and King's Landing, and golden antlers crowns signified absolute power. Over time, the Baratheon lords proved to be better warriors than rulers, and their house now lays in ruins. Royal Lochnagar also boasts royal lineage. Originally called New Lochnagar, it was renamed after Queen Victoria, and Prince Albert visited the distillery and granted a royal warrant to John Berg in 1848. Since then, it has been praised by monarchs, rightfully earning its moniker. Balanced with delicate fruit and spices, the taste of royalty is best enjoyed neat. Bum 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 bum. They did confirm what I had been saying. But let's go over the tasting notes on the internets. I found this at malts.com. I was actually ready to just look up Royal Lochnagar 12, but I actually found that they do have information about the Game of Thrones bottle, so here we go. Appearance is pale amber. Nose, plain wood, light toffee, boat varnish. Ooh. After a while, coffee with brown sugar. Maybe a faint brown sugar coffee? Palate, pleasant. An initial sweetness is quickly overtaken by acidity. I wasn't going to say acid, but it was a quick, sweet to dry sort of thing for me. Finish, dry medium length with an attractive, lingering sandalwood aftertaste. Sandalwood, huh? I'm not getting that. Mostly it's just dry for me. That's all. There you have it, folks. The House Baratheon Royal Lochnagar 12. It's a lovely little island scotch. I was worried about the palate being a little, plain, but it is enjoyable. I could easily sip on this for those cold winter evenings that we are in store for. And never fear, there is a Royal Lochnagar 12 here that you can get, hopefully, at a liquor store near you, if you cannot find this very fancy Game of Thrones bottle. Until next time, live long and prosper. Don't forget to be awesome, and I will see you out there. Thank you for joining me on KillCo Whiskey Musings. You can find my social media and Patreon in the links below. Be sure to like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.